I'm David Heitler-Clevens.
And I'm Rodney Wittenberg. And this is Music for the New Revolution.
You will not be able... All right, well, we are here in the studio with Charlie King and Martin Swinger. We are very fortunate to have them visiting us on their way to performing tonight at the Folk Factory Coffee House.
Yes, welcome to Music for the New Revolution.
Well, thank you. Yeah, where our carbon footprint is very small this morning.
That's right. We are doing this unplugged recording.
This entire recording comes to you on the strength of 2 AA batteries.
The 3 AA batteries.
Oh, I misspoke.
3 AA batteries right here. Yes, there was believe it or not, on the eastern coast of Pennsylvania, a number of tornadoes and a horrible rainstorm. And we actually have the door open, so you'll hear some traffic in the background because it's the only way to get light in here because we have no power. Power has been out now for about 14 hours.
Well, we've been working in the dark for 3 years,
Yeah.
so we should be used to
Only
it.
3 years?
But we are so happy that we are able to put the show together since you are here.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Would you like to start with a song?
Sure, we're actually prepared for that.
Excellent. Looked like you were.
This is a retelling of my father's economic philosophy. I grew up in a real right-wing family, and my father had an airtight explanation of why socialism would never work, and this is his position and my response. They say if you took all the money on earth and dispensed equal portions to each child at birth, that after a while it would all find its way back to the same handful that holds it today. Well, I'm willing to give that a try. Everyone gets a piece of the pie. When we give the money to the many at the bottom, wait for it to trickle up to the top. Give the money to the many at the bottom, top dog waiting for his trickle up.
Rosalie dwells in a dump, cleans hotels for Donald Trump. Swap their salaries, she sits pretty, penthouse suite, Atlantic City. The money trickles back to Don, he can hire her husband one, pay them both a living wage. Trickle up, it's all the rage. When we give the money to the many at the bottom, and wait for it to trickle up to the top. Give the money to the many at the bottom, top dog waiting for his trickle up. Henry Ford's first hurrah was pay him enough to buy my car. The unions held the line on pay, but now the car has had its day. A better idea, a high-speed train, 6 weeks off and a raise in pay. And next thing you know it, we're all aboard. See the USA in a train by Ford. If you give the money to the many at the bottom and you wait for it to trickle up to the top, give the money to the many at the bottom, top dog waiting for his trickle up. When the Inuit lives in Nome, lost his job, could lose his home, his bank bailed for boku billions, kicked Quinn back a measly million, pays his mortgage, credit card, hires Don Trump to rake his yard. Oh, Trump invests in a landscape biz, knows someday it'll all be his, because he gives the money to the many at the bottom and waits for it to trickle up to the top. You got to give the money to the many at the bottom, top dog waiting for his trickle up, top dog waiting for his trickle up. Please wait.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I have admired about your songs, Charlie, for a very long time is, how you capture the essence of a political argument in a song like that.
Well, thanks. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
So how did you come to have a sense of a different belief system than your dad? As someone who also has a completely different belief system than my father, how did you come to that?
I think leaving home was essential. I had been, living in eastern Massachusetts, working on the Barry Goldwater campaign, going to John Birch Society meetings with my dad. And then I left home and ended up in college with a roommate who was a disabled, gay, Jewish civil rights activist from Birmingham, Alabama. So he was used to adversity, and I was no match for him. And so him and then the war in Vietnam. It was mandated that we be in ROTC classes, and I started learning a little bit about military science, and then I started learning stuff about the Vietnam War, and it just didn't fit with the kind of image of the United States and the United States military that I had grown up with in my house. And so I began to change, eventually became a conscientious objector. But I think I was kind of softened up even before I left home by folk music. Discovered that when I was a sophomore in high school. My dad actually liked the Weavers. He liked Peter, Paul, and Mary. So it was sort of kind of a common ground, but I didn't get it. I remember going in to hear Phil Oakes at the old Club 47. It's past Seams now in Boston, Cambridge. And I'm thinking like, does he really say that? Does he really mean that? This guy's a communist. So it stretched me, but eventually it brought me over to the other side.
And how did you come to your beliefs politically?
Political beliefs. I was very lucky to grow up in a household that was very much engaged in the civil rights movement down in Georgia. My parents drove all around town and picked people up and said, no, you don't have to know how many bubbles are in a bar of soap to vote. And took people in and started a clothing bank in the basement and things like that. Very actively engaged. What wasn't engaged was the word gay. The concept of being gay did not exist when I grew up. I knew I was different, but I didn't have any role models, except as Charlie and I were talking this morning, role models like Dr. Smith from Lost in Space. Boy, there's something you want to grow up to be like, right? But so I grew up with a very open mind, but still trying to figure out how I fit into the world. And as Charlie said, as we all do, we leave home and then we begin that road of discovery, figuring out who we are and how we express ourselves. So I was a very late bloomer in that respect, was probably 22 before I came out to anybody, but had certainly thought about it a lot, had already written songs about it. In the early days of songwriting, we process our thoughts by writing songs. So a lot of songs I wrote that are now just in past history, I've pretty much forgotten them. They were just step by step trying to figure out what was going on. And so now I'm much more out with, as a performer, trying to be right out front about who I am without making a huge deal out of it. Janice Ian was a beautiful role model for me the first time I heard her perform, and she just mentions the word wife and goes right on, and my jaw hit the floor. It's like, oh, can you do that? Can you actually do that? And I've learned, in the years, I've gotten very comfortable about saying I wrote this song for my husband 25 years ago, and, we're still together, and just move forward with it that way, realizing that just flat out blatant honesty is the only way to do it. And if there's a problem, it's the other person's problem. It's not my problem.
Wow. It's interesting. I guess you're talking about growing up in the 50s and early 60s.
Yeah.
I just saw Green Book recently.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. I heard about it.
Well, I'm identify as straight, but I'm very gay friendly, and I'm also an extremely sensitive and emotional male. And what blew my mind about watching Green Book was the issues this guy was dealing with the year before I was born are the same issues that I struggled with my whole life, which in some ways made me feel kind of happy. In another way, I was like, wow, this struggle is going to go on forever, it seems like. And so do you have a sense of the transition from then to now? Like, does it seem easier or better in some ways? Or?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. First of all, I think ACT UP was probably the primary moving force that got the words out there, because ACT UP realized that George Bush is never going to say the word gay unless we force him to. And that's what ACT UP was about, was civil disobedience, and sometimes not quite so civil, forcing the news to put it out there. So that really helped change the discourse a lot, as well as just the changing times that these things started coming forward. You know, in my day, it was the Rock Hudson story and the Liberace story, these people who were pretty darn obvious to a lot of us, but it still couldn't be said, you know, until after they were dead. You know, it was finally said out loud.
So this is all always interesting to me too, because my mentor in college was Camille Polias, and she was probably one of the first adults that I met that was out and was teaching at a university and was a big influence. The question I had for you, because you hit on it, and this is for both of you, you were talking about these were therapy songs. One of the things David and I talk about is that as we do a show about political music, is so often political songs are just not very good. So how do you make the distinction between, or do you, when you're creating it, do you make the distinction between a political song and just a really good song that just happens to have this message in it or takes this position?
Personally, for me, Charlie's the important person here, but personally for me,
That's a very political
I've just always approached songwriting. I'm a student of poetry. I love poetry, and so it very much is about writing a good song. I don't think of myself as a political songwriter, but being an out performer, that kind of automatically makes me a political songwriter. Some friends and I produced a concert several years ago out in Provincetown, and we called it The Big Taboo, because women can be out on stage, but the number of gay men that are out there performing, you can count on one hand. So in that way, in that respect, I am a political writer, but I really approach from the songwriting standpoint first, and then the message is whatever the message is. I happen to be a forward-thinking person. Charlie.
Well, I certainly have written a lot of bad political songs. And
How do you define that? Like, I'm curious.
it's the song I wrote because I have to sing at a picket line this afternoon, you know. And its main virtue is it hits the nail on the head. And it's very rhetorical. It's in your face. It's picked a side to be on. It stretches rhyme and meter in order to list an agenda of issues, something like that. I would have to say I'm pretty much always a political writer, but the best opportunity is when a story comes to me or forms in my mind, or when a quote or an idea comes to me that I find to be inspirational or warning. Ideally, when people hear a song that I sing, they're going to think about things in a new way. There may be a limited spectrum of things, but somehow there's an aha moment in the listening to the song.
Yeah, excellent. Well, would you like to do another song?
You want to do one of your own, Martin?
Let's go for the Peter and Lou Berriman.
All of our bedrooms are gilded and burnished with every conceivable luxury furnished. Security guards always lurking here somewhere, and calmative drugs at the hint of a nightmare. With eider-down pillows of 1,000-count satin on 12 poster beds with a view of Manhattan, a soothing and comforting sight. So why do you people keep asking us how we can sleep at night? With dreams of our limousine fleets holding steady, and jets on the tarmac all fueled up and ready, and 100-foot yachts for our White House connection, and choppers to whisk us in any direction. Now even our house of accountants relaxes. They've worked it all out, so we barely pay taxes. The future is peaceful and bright. So why do you people keep asking us how we can sleep at night? If ever our government lay down the sword, creating a dip in the Dow, We might need our nightcaps more liberally poured, but everything's booming right now. And thanks to the coming of privatization,
they'll no longer nick us for free education.
we won't have to spring for the old and the lazy.
Or pop for the health of the wretched and crazy.
We're calmer today than we've been throughout history.
So why you would ask us this now is a mystery.
We don't get it, try as we might. Why do you people keep asking us how we can sleep at night? We don't mean to be impolite, but why do you people keep asking us how we can sleep at night?
So that's half of a Peter and Lou Berryman song.
Half
Yeah.
of- Does it
Literally
keep,
half.
Does it keep going?
No, but a lot of the middle is missing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
One thing that Peter Berryman and Rick Burkhardt have in common is that they assume that the listening public have a very long attention span.
And Wisconsin and accordions, right?
Yes, essential, yeah.
What is it about Wisconsin that seems to be breeding these incredibly clever songwriters?
Well, actually, Rick's from Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but he
but
was in Wisconsin
close.
for a while, right?
Andy, his
He was-
singing partner, lives in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
and,
was the
and Rick
Wisconsin
did live in Madison for a while.
So I think you used sarcasm in that song. Would you say like how you were talking about the people who why they ask them to sleep at night? So is that a tool that you like to use in songs?
It's a tool I'm accused of. I prefer the word satire.
Or
but,
satire. Okay.
How about irony?
Or irony. Right.
Irony, yeah.
So do you ever find that people hear the song and not get the irony in it or the satire?
I think, sure, it's possible, but my audiences are pretty self-selective. So beyond the people that I can see when I'm singing, I really don't know. But I try not to be too subtle. I remember having a discussion with one of my favorite songwriters, Dave Gordon, and I said, I assume when I write a song that people are only going to hear it once, and I want them to get it. And Dave said, "Oh, isn't that interesting? I assume when I write a song that people will hear it many times, and every time they hear it, I want them to hear something new."
Hmm.
So different approaches.
Both good.
Yeah.
They're both good and they're both completely valid. Yes, it's got to make sense the first time, but it's always great. You run into those musicians that I can just listen to the song again and again and again. And it's the subtlety of word choices, the pauses where they put them, those kind of things communicate so much in the thing, especially if we're, as performers, when we're listening for those kind of things and we're trying to learn from them. It's always great to have good writing.
Yeah, and good delivery.
And good delivery, too. Both important. Oh, yeah, Charlie and I were talking about our mutual admiration society that we both enunciate. What a pleasure it is to sing with somebody who enunciates.
Did you have an elocution class in school?
Oh, yeah. I was doing all kinds of public speaking classes and poetry recital and that kind of thing. So, and then theater is my background. So very much about making sure the words come through.
Yeah, and that fits very well with the idea that you want people to understand what you're putting across. So, yeah.
When Roy Zimmerman
Yep.
was here, one of the things he talked about, which was really interesting, he felt like he was a journalist and that he's communicating the news. Do you feel that way in some of your songwriting, that you're hoping to inform and educate your audience, or is there a sense of that for you?
I see myself in a songwriting tradition that includes Phil Oakes, and that was his field, journalism. When I used to perform, I used to fly everywhere back when it was affordable, and I would read the New York Times in the plane, and then I would read from the newspaper on stage. I don't do anything like that anymore. And a number of people have said that all of the news comes to us pre-satirized now. I think it was Paxton who said you don't have to satirize them, you just have to quote them. So I found myself less and less inclined to get dragged down into that swamp. Can we say swamp?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm writing way less than I used to. I used to write a dozen songs a year that I would record and then a bunch of that I wouldn't. Now, if I get, 3 songs in a year, it's a good year. So I don't think I want to spend that time reporting the news, but analysis, I think if I can find a way to look into things that feels fresh and insightful, I'll do that.
I remember a song of yours, I think from the 80s, that was about how the news ignores, some of the kinds of stories that you cared about, the news, the blues, that had a lot of alternative take on media.
Yeah, and it had to do with the fact that I was sitting on that plane reading the New York Times and going like, what kind of a world are we living in? And then I get off the plane and I'm singing for people who have a safe house for women or a soup kitchen or are sheltering Central American refugees. I said, what a great country this is, if you only knew these stories.
Yeah, when you mentioned Phil Oakes, and as soon as Rodney asked you that question, I was thinking of that title, All the News That's Fit to Sing, and that was so his journalism obviously went into the concept of songwriting. But I do think that, even if you're not looking at it as journalism, there is a way in which telling these important stories and bringing out certain aspects of issues is a kind of journalistic endeavor.
Yeah, well, we're saturated with information, but finding new ways to talk about it is different than that. I heard, I can't even remember the name of this news commentator. He's an old Democratic Party curmudgeon who does news analysis on PBS with David Brooke on Friday night. He was saying how the president was pulling troops out of Syria and sending them to Saudi Arabia. He said, because those people stood beside us on the beaches of Normandy. And I thought, wow, what a great thing to say, in such a short period. It makes such a good point without trying to beat them to death or insult them, just like, hello, what are we doing here?
I know for myself as a songwriter, I find these times, particularly the past 3 years, just so hard to pick a subject to sing about because it feels like, oh, okay, I should write about, okay, that's out of the news. No one knows about it now. Okay, well, I can make it personal. I don't know how to, but I didn't personally experience it. So how would I do it in a way that makes it, one of the things I love about Tom Waits as a writer, I always think of him as like a silent or a sneaky political writer, is that he'll write something, but it's not overtly political because it'll be a story about these people and it'll really hit you emotionally and you just start going, oh my God, that's so powerful. And I think about trying to do that, but then I go, but people won't get the message. So I got to send it to them. But the question is, do you find that it's harder in this era now where there's so much information coming at you and it goes by so quickly and people have short attention spans? Is it harder to find something that you could write about that will connect with people?
I think the big challenge for me is feeling like I have something to say that I haven't already said a half a dozen times. And when I come across some door that opens there, then I walk through it. But other than that, I just sit in front of the computer and try to get jobs.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't take on political issues very much. I have in the past, like Charlie says, you find yourself the opportunity to speak out about something. And you throw together a song and it holds together for that period of time and then you let it go. Well, wasn't it Tom Paxton that always encouraged people, write songs that have a shelf life. Go ahead and write the song, good or bad. It'll be gone tomorrow, but do it today.
Is there something new that you'd like to play or that you're working on? This
is, I'd like to share a song. It doesn't happen so much now, but not so long ago, the number of political and religious leaders we've had that have done so much to oppress gay people, and then something happens and, we find out that they were gay all along and that they were using their power as a shield. And that is always irritating to me. And the antecedent to that is to go ahead and come out and just let people know it's a safe world. Be who you are. So I've got a song called Hiding Out Blues. I was in the closet for 22 years. I grew up on the grounds of the state mental institution. My dad worked as a business administrator there. And in 1966, Time magazine came out with the word homosexual across the top. It was the only Time magazine that I ever grabbed and ran to the bathroom so I could read this thing. And it was all about how they were connecting electrodes to certain parts of people's anatomy and then showing them pornographic pictures. And if they responded to the wrong pictures, they would get an electric shock on their certain part of their anatomy. And that's when I locked the door and swallowed the key, realizing here we are at a mental institution. Dad could probably have that done to me. So I was 22 before I ever came out. And so those things are what fed this song called Hiding Out Blues.
I saw you walking yesterday. We passed on the street. You looked in my eye. I see you walking with some friends who don't have a clue. I winked back at you. But when you answer me, I read your message. Please don't destroy this disguise. Hiding on the city streets, hiding from your friends, hiding from the family, the hiding never ends. You can do your hiding any way you choose. You get those hiding out blues. Your color's clear as a bell. You're not fooling me, you know I can tell. It's written all over you, the way that you are, indelible blue. You try to keep it in, you pray to wake up, please don't let this color be true. Hiding on the football team or in a business suit, hiding in the government or as a new recruit. You can do your hiding anywhere you choose. How do I know what's happening to you? How do I know what you're going through? 'Cause I've had them too. Those hiding out blues. You tell yourself that it's a phase, don't mean a thing when you're in the mood. You don't believe in hiding lies, but news of this kind would ruin you good. You have to run away where no one knows you and love won't remember your name. Hiding on the parking lot, hiding on the road, hiding on the highway you think nobody knows. You can do your hiding any way you choose. And you're hiding in the personals, hiding in the news, hiding in the pulpit or hiding in the pews. You can do your hiding any way you choose. You get those hiding out, you'll get those hiding out. You're always hiding out blues.
That made me think of a documentary I saw. Have you heard of the movie Outrage?
I have not heard
So
of that.
it's about a couple people who were gay activists who were kind of controversial because they outed various politicians and religious leaders who, because of their being closeted, exactly like you were talking about in the introduction, were doing damage to other people. And so the idea of outing other people obviously is controversial, but in this case, to me, it felt very justified because they were, kind of trying to stop this victimization that was going on in that.
I think, again, part of what goes on, I'm 64. In most of my lifetime, the words did not exist. The concept of ally did not exist. That someone can safely say, I am an ally, without necessarily coming out. And that wasn't part of the lexicon. And so I think that's how a lot of people ended up in that position of having to do something else to hide behind, where being able to say, I'm an ally, today is a perfectly viable shield as well to use. It's safe, and so you're still lifting people up instead of pushing people down.
Excellent.
Charlie, you got a lot of great songs too.
Oh, yeah.
Many hours of great songs. I wish we had time to do, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back, either together or individually to do this another time too. Sure. But do you want to do one more song before we finish up?
As a duo.
Yeah, as a duo, yeah. However you would like. Yeah.
Well, actually,
yeah.
You asked, have you got any new songs? And that really narrowed the field down considerably. And I do have a few, but this one, I've been reading James Cone and Travis Smiley and thinking a lot about Martin Luther King and the last year of his life, which started with the Riverside speech against Vietnam and then work on the Poor People's Campaign. And he saw his strongest allies abandoning him because they felt like he was weakening the message, alienating allies, and that ultimately he was leading them down the road to failure, and they didn't want to fail. And he gave a speech a month after the Riverside speech, and in it he said, we go down to Washington, we demand justice, we don't get justice. They failed. We didn't fail. And he had this quote in it, and it just really struck me. He said, when you stand up for justice, you can never fail. And I thought, I know so many people who have been standing up for justice for 20, 30, 40 years, and, they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They don't even see the tunnel sometimes, but they just keep showing up. And I thought, what a great message to share with people. So, one way to do that is to put it into a song.
Martin set his heart on the Poor People's Campaign. His allies and advisors told him, don't go down that trail. The work's too hard, the road's too long, you'll come back empty-handed. He said, when you stand up for justice, you can never fail. You can never fail. You can never fail. Take up the task at hand, lift your voice and take a stand. When you stand up for justice, you can never fail. Martin spoke his truth to power about the war in Vietnam. His enemies and friends all told him, stick to civil rights. He listened to his conscience, and he knew the cause of peace cannot be set apart from justice. It is all one fight, and you can never fail. You can never fail. Take up the task at hand, lift your voice and take a stand. When you stand up for justice, you can never fail. The arc of the moral universe is long, and we don't know what the journey might entail. But it bends toward justice And if we stand up for justice, Martin said that we will never fail. Congress promises the moon, but you know they don't deliver. Business offers nothing if it isn't up for sale. The president will fail. He's a taker, not a giver. But when you stand up for justice, you can never fail. You can never fail. You can never fail. Take up the task at hand. Lift your voice and take a stand. 'Cause when you stand up for justice, you can never fail.
I always found it interesting that he was assassinated when he was bringing people together, like working on the rights of the poor people, which was bringing black and white people together, and that's when he got killed. It seems like, yeah, we don't like the civil rights thing, but that's okay. You're just
You can
organizing.
vote. We can live with
We
that.
can live with you organizing people of color, just as long as you stay over there. Oh, you're getting poor people together? No, you can't do that. It's just, and it seems like that is the struggle that we've been in since then. Is how do you unite the working class and poor? Because if they got together, they'd have a much more powerful voice than the wealthy.
Yeah, and we were just talking this morning. You know, when Donald Trump talks about workers, he's talking about white men.
Yeah, he's not including all the workers. In fact,
Not even,
Not
not
close.
even a strong minority.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You know, that song, I just heard the Utah Phillips song. I can't remember what it's called, about we're building a ship and we may
Yeah.
never sail in it.
Yeah.
Those two go real nicely together.
Oh, nice. That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
That's a wonderful song.
Yeah. It's a hard thing for us to remember, though, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, we want to see results of the work that we do, and we often don't. So it's really helpful, I think, to have that kind of reminder that it's the
a couple
it's
of
the struggle.
stories come to mind. One is about the old man who he lives in Jerusalem. He goes to pray at the Wailing Wall every day, and a tourist sees him. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm praying." He says, "What are you praying for?" He says, "I'm praying for peace in the Mideast." He says, "This is the first time you've done it?" He says, "I've done it every day for the last 30 years." Tourist says, "Every day for 30 years? What's that like?" He said, "Well, it's like talking to the wall." But there was another story that was more hopeful. If I could just remember it.
Well, I think a lot of us, probably myself included, we've been lulled into the belief that justice and rights are handed to us, that are given to us, when there's so many more of us than there are of them, that powerful them. But part of the rhetoric keeps us all separated from each other in so many ways, divided. When if we can just find more ways to pull together as a group, that is where our strength lies. Charlie's got a great song, Somewhere to Begin. A song is a good place to begin. Love is somewhere to begin. So we've got to look for those. And as musicians, I think that's really what we're after, is to get whoever is out there listening and get them to recognize that, yes, we are one group, that we are together on this, even if we disagree about the details.
And I remembered the other story, which is one that my partner who died 5 years ago, Karen Brando, she worked for 8 years, 8 very hard years in Guatemala, working with the trade union movement. And people down there talk about bringing a grain of sand to the building of a mountain. And they say, you know, they know that there are other people coming with their grain of sand, and eventually we'll build that mountain.
Yeah, that's a great thought to end on. But do you want to end with a song together?
Something maybe in the key of A or G. How about something in the key of G?
Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls, these walls, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls, these walls, these walls between us. Tumbalas, tumbalas, las murallas entre nosotros. Tumbalas, tumbalas, murallas, murallas entre nosotros. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls, these walls, these walls between us.
Thanks so much to Martin Swinger and Charlie King for joining us here at Music for the New Revolution.
You've been listening to Music for the New Revolution. I'm Rodney Wittenberg.
I'm David Heitler-Clevens.
Music for the New Revolution is produced at Melody Vision Recording Studios in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. Music for the New Revolution is written and produced by David Heitler-Clevens and Rodney Wittenberg.
And edited and co-produced by Ben Flax.
You can find us at musicforthenewrevolution.com or MFTNR. Like us on Facebook and follow our Spotify playlist.
And our podcasts can be found on SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can also be a patron, a supporter of our podcast on Patreon.
This is Music for the New Revolution.
Spend it all today and we will bill you tomorrow. 3-piece suits and bank accounts in Bahamas. Wall Street crime will never send you to the slammer. Tell all the children in the arms of the mamas. The F-15 is a homicide bomber. TV commercial for a pop-up pill culture. Drug companies.